Time once again to Pop That Culture, the podcast series that examines endlessly about various things in pop culture. Here are your hosts.
Did you ever stretch Armstrong?
No, I didn't. I had friends who just like, and I play with them for a bit, and I'm just like, so yeah, Stretch Armstrong. This is a thing. It's fun for 30 seconds. So yeah. So by the way, Mike, I was recording at that point. So here we are for Pop That Culture 2. So I feel really bad. When we did the first one, Mike, I really forgot to talk about the history of the Ninja Turtles franchise. And I was actually really attempting to do something to put into the first one, but doing kind of like a post-record thing, I just couldn't, nothing came about that I could do it justice. So I think maybe we'll save a lot of that to like the end to kind of like, kind of reflecting. Then again, we're going to be talking about various things in the franchise that a lot of the history of it's going to seep in anyway. So yeah, Turtles. So I didn't mention a lot about like with the history of the franchise up into the first movie, but I do want to mention, with this movie, like the success of the first movie would lead to questions, will there be another movie? Well, that would be just one question, but still something that needed to be answered, and it did with a resounding yes. The first movie, Mike, made about $200 million with a $13 million budget. So, ching ching, that was a success. The franchise was thriving, and to have a sequel being made was a must. Several people from the first movie returned for this production. It was written by one of the co-writers of the first movie, Todd W. Langham. And most of the cast returned, with the exceptions of Corey Feldman, Josh Price, who were casted, Elias Cortez became Sir not appearing in this sequel, and Judith Hogg was also recasted.
Well, again, I mentioned this the first time we recorded about Turtles, that I am more of a new Turtles fan, very much so a new Turtles fan. Only really been watching it for the past, maybe year and a half, 2 years now? Not sure how long it's been. So getting into it through the 87, right? 87 cartoon? Yes, 87. Getting into it through that cartoon, it when I watched the second movie, it didn't feel off to me, because I was still in the midst of watching through the cartoon. So at the time, I wasn't familiar with other aspects of the franchise. So sitting there watching it, to me, I was like, okay, this movie's more like the cartoon, more like the real Turtles, whereas the first one was doing something different. Whereas in reality, the first one was staying true to the comics, the cartoon was something different, and this movie was more like the cartoon.
I know. We're probably going to be discussing this as we go through this movie, just like some of the kind of the nods of the cartoon that were put in this movie.
Many.
Yeah. All right, so let's start off. This movie starts off with similar shots from the opening of the first movie, but rather this time at night and with more up-tempo music than the first movie, which right there already sets the tone of the movie in comparison to the first movie. Also, what didn't happen in the first movie is everyone in a city eating pizza at the same time, including a very classy-looking couple. So the story is this, Mike. The Shredder was defeated, and therefore everyone is eating pizza. Or maybe people just eat pizza anyway, with or without reason. I don't know. But actually, speaking of which, you've been in New York a few times. Have you ever seen this phenomenon of people on the street, so many people walking through the streets eating pizza? Big slices,
No,
too.
I have not, my friend.
They don't make pizza slices like that anymore, do they?
Gigantic pizza slices. You got to go to a very rare place to find something like that.
Yeah.
Tell you.
We see Keno, played by Ernie Reyes Jr. of Turtles 2 and Surf Ninja fame. You may think, is he going to be there for one scene to set up the Turtles or the whole movie? Let's find
Let's
out.
have our fingers crossed that he is.
And you know what? If you're living under a rock called "Never Watch This Movie Because I Have a Life," then maybe it won't. Anyway, Ernie Reyes was given the role of Kino in this movie because producers liked his work as a stunt worker in the first movie. Kino's traits as a protagonist lessen in quality in my eyes when, after being rejected by a girl, says, "Maybe I'll dream of something a little thinner."
Oh boy, that got the masses riled, I'm sure.
I know, it's like, I mean, I don't care about, like, with sinners. Like, that's a horrible trait for a hero, potentially. Terrible. You're a terrible role model, Kino.
That's what happens
when you
have young heroes. Unlike young but mutated turtle heroes.
But they're teenagers, so they should have that same trait, being dicks. I don't know.
They have been raised by the Splinter.
The Splinter? Not Splinter, but the Splinter. Kino, upon approaching April O'Neil's building, notices a bunch of things transpiring. He discovers that people are stealing things and stuff. He confronts the Pantyhose gang with pizza in hand. One of the gang members pulls off his mask, creating a witness that can send him away. He asks Kino, "What are you, night security?" Kino replies with typical action hero quote of, "No, I'm just pizza delivery." Typical stuff. The Pantyhose gang proceed with, "Advance on him!" And Kino displays some martial arts and replies with other typical action hero line of, "Did I mention I studied martial arts?" Typical Mike. I can't remember how many times that line was said in Bebe's Kids.
Because that's how gangs and teenage heroes talk.
Yep. But more members of the Pantyhose gang go to advance on him when turtle-like things, maybe the Ninja Turtles, run down some stairs, jump into the air. Title of the movie hits with an awesome shot of all four turtles ready to fight a hard-fought battle, needing everything they got at their disposal. They'll be needing their weapons, and I bet you a damn and a bitchin' will be heard.
And they might even need a gun.
Yep, but nope, none of that, Mike. Goofy, over-the-top stuff happens after Kino delivers a corny, "Am I seeing what I'm seeing?" acting. Rap subdues Kino via blanket and trash can. The Turtles trade dated phrases like awesome and eclectic, and then proceed to fight the Pantyhose gang with stuff like a leather belt with Donatello saying, "Rawhide, Robocop!" And he's proclaiming himself, Mike, and you can put that to matter of fact. Ninja Cowboy. He does machines in the Old West.
Damn right he does.
Yep. This Donatello, by the way, is not played by Corey Feldman, but by Adam Carl. So, what are your thoughts on, as we just discussing with Donatello right now, with that kind of recasting?
I gotta tell you, when I was watching the movies, the three movies, the original three, I watched them pretty much straight through, 1, 2, 3 each night. And I didn't look up information about them beforehand. I just kind of went into them blind. And, I didn't even notice recasting.
Really?
I really didn't.
Man.
Maybe it's just because I didn't find the voices to be character-y enough. They had character-y lines, and certain aspects of the acting matched that. However, the voices themselves, I think, are relatively subdued compared to the cartoon. Except in the case of, like, Raphael.
Yeah, exactly. That's a notable exception.
But the other three, I think they have relatively, I don't want to say lax, but just kind of, I feel like the other voices just kind of melded into what would seem kind of like, I don't know, normal people.
Okay.
They weren't over-the-top character-y, so I honestly didn't notice a change.
Okay. Mikey utilizes a yo-yo on the Pantyhose gang, and he's not alone. He's being aided by cartoon sound effects when the yo-yo hits the gang. Here's the thing. Leo's message of, "Now you see them, now you don't," before throwing his blades to the ceiling, I think that is the obvious nod of, no weapons will be used in this damn bitchin' movie, so are you happy now, Mom?
When I watched that opening scene, I pretty much thought, okay, they're just fighting random dumb thugs here. So, these guys are so weak, they don't even need their weapons. I thought it was just, okay, fighting douchebags, comedy. great. I didn't expect the whole movie to essentially. I mean, they drew their weapons like once, right?
Very little. I think I asked you if you can jot down how many times they actually use their weapons.
I forgot to jot down.
You forgot to do that, but honestly, I don't think it was used that much. But here's the thing. I'll joke about the fact that the shift in tone was changed with the violence, with the fighting, that it's okay. It's very goofy. I have to really give them credit for that. It was still very inventive, what they did with the choreography and stunts to make this kind of situation like work. And I think, yeah, exactly. Like I'm still impressed, just like how fluid that they move in these huge suits. Mikey, disturbingly, when being shown jumping up and down, a pantyhose gang member says, "You want a pickle? I'll give you a pickle." Cue fanfics of both word and illustration. Once again, Mikey shows off with nunchuck moves, but the chucks are rather meaty. So he's using, like, sausages and all that, isn't he?
Yeah, I think either sausages or salami.
But even just like, okay, if we can't show nunchucks, but yet it's the same, it's using the same, like, aspect of the weapons. Well, like, they do the same job.
One is a weapon, the other is delicious.
But he's using that deliciousness as a weapon.
You're right, that's not how deliciousness should be used. They should feel ashamed. They're trying to protect kids from weaponry, but in reality, they're just showing kids, hey, your food is a weapon, and that's not cool.
Yeah, because the obvious lesson is don't play with your food.
Shame on you, Hollywood.
The Turtles pick up Kino from the trash, and Raph tells Kino to go. Kino goes to a payphone and calls the cops. He arrives back at the market to see all the bad guys tied up and pizza taken and the pizza paid for. We see April O'Neil, now played by Paige Turco,
Awful.
talks with her... What's that?
Awful.
You don't like this April in this one?
Terrible.
I thought you told me a little while ago that you liked this April more so than the first one.
No, in this movie, she's horrible. It's the same actress in the third movie, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So you think she improved in the third movie?
In the third movie.
I'm going to be looking.
She is awful.
I'm going to be looking forward to seeing that third movie, just to keep that in mind, because I don't know how much of the horribleness of the third movie will help me embrace the good. But she talks with her neighbors, who are both starstruck, and tell her to stop with the noises in her place. The guy that talked with April was a guy who is in Mikey's suit throughout the movie, and he actually had a non-suit role in the first movie. He was the pizza delivery guy, who was just like, I got to get a new route.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the first movie.
You know what? If they made a live-action movie that featured Vernon from the '87 series, I nominate this guy to play that character. Because he does look a lot like him, don't you think? He looks a lot like Vernon.
I just wish they would have a real Vernon in one of these movies. I know the recent one had a Vernon of sorts.
You gotta see it. Like, I'll be honest, it's not the Vernon, but honestly, he's actually one of the highlights of the movie.
Really?
Like, and I'm being like legitimate here. I'm being honest by saying that. Anyway, April gets in her apartment. A nice upgrade from the first movie. She picks up the mess that the Turtles left, like a snake in the fridge, books, skateboard, and exercise equipment, though, that stretchy thing. She disses the Turtles behind their back by saying, the rat is the cleanest one. Boom!
Shots been fired.
I know. After going upstairs, the Turtles arrive, trading more slang and catchphrases. Just like, again, this is a recurring joke in this movie as well from the first movie. Donnie coming up with the lame phrases at the end, unless you use a cappella often, if you think that's legitimately cool.
I can start.
And you can be as cool as Donatello.
It would be a step up from where I'm at now, so.
I'm going to be waiting to get texts of just you saying a cappella. But Mike, there's no context for you to say a cappella.
Don't care. You're going to be getting them now. You signed your own fate.
And I hope you sign the fate of many other people on Twitter by you putting that at least once a day.
You're on.
All right, but I'm also going to call you to task, like the Turtles called the task to Donatello, to come up with something better, to which Donatello starts with Frere Jacques. Which, I'll be honest, when I was a kid, whenever we sang that song in French class, I always think of this from the movie.
I am not shocked at all.
The Turtles celebrate with pizza, obviously. Mikey proclaims that it's ninja pizza, to which Raph asks for a slice to be thrown his way. Donatello throws it like a proud XFL quarterback, and Raph secures
Tommy Maddox, though. He defined his NFL career.
And Raph secures the pizza down by having the slice impaled on should be sanitized but highly doubted side. April asks them if they found a new place yet, in answer with the exposition of the events from the first movie of not staying in a place. So they're still staying in an apartment because they fear that the Foot might find them in their sewers.
This is my problem with the transition from the first to the second movie. Some might view it as a minor, very seemingly rushed character development just to open up the movie, but
yeah.
I don't like the way April is towards the Turtles. Now, don't get me wrong, I know the Turtles are pigs. I know that they're very juvenile and childish, and they're getting on her nerves. But when I watched the first movie, one of the things that I liked about it, one of the things that I liked with the April scenes, were the fact that even though she seems to be a reporter and, essentially, what do I want to say? Like, the top of her field, practically, she's respected. She's liked. At the end of the movie, she apparently becomes the highest paid reporter in New York.
Yep.
Even though she seems to be on the top of her field, she doesn't seem that happy of a person. She's got shit with her boss. She obviously has some relationship issues because she obviously through the movie has these feelings for Casey, and she doesn't know how to handle them. So she doesn't seem like the best person socially, and she doesn't seem happy. And then the Turtles come in, and suddenly she's laughing, she's happy. It's like they made her world brighter. They showed her a life of more than just work and reporting, that you could have fun too. And I thought that was actually a really nice thing that the movie did, really showing the Turtles doing some good aside from heroism. And then for this movie to open up with essentially, now I'm bored of you now.
Well, not only that, she's like, April in this movie does not have a lot of growth, and a lot of things are just like, well, she's the mom. She's just being a mom to the Turtles for the most part.
Exactly. She started out more like a friend, a very very caring friend. But now like you said, Mama April.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like the change in characterization. I don't like the change in her tone towards the Turtles. I think there could have been something different done.
Raph makes a joke about a man being crushed in a garbage truck, with no mention of Casey Jones being the true victor over Shredder. Splinter arrives and gives a speech about the Turtles will never be accepted in the upper world amongst humans, but pizza will accept them. It always does. We then cut to a garbage dump, where we see the Shredder is still alive, his hand rising above the garbage. I can't question, I'm not going to question, the sheer reality of this whole thing, where not only garbage men didn't bat an eye about a ninja warrior wearing metal in their possession, but also the Shredder somehow surviving all this for all this time, because this is like a month after, apparently, like around a month after the events or something like that, but yet he just rises from, I guess he was in a garbage coma or something like that. I'm gonna leave it at that. We cut to a junkyard where the remaining members of the Foot, Sam Rockwell Punk, played by Sam Rockwell. He's not in this movie. I missed Sam Rockwell Punk, played by Sam Rockwell.
Me too, because I'm not going to get to hear you say that through the whole podcast now, which I laughed every time. Every time the last episode.
Tatsu proclaims he is the true leader now and asks for anyone to challenge that. Cue the Shredder to enter to challenge that, and we have our bad guys back together in action. Shredder 2.0 complete. Yep. Complete with saw blade helmet. He's out for revenge. I liked that helmet, actually.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah. The next day, we see April interviewing Techno Global Research Industries, TGRI, spokesperson Professor Jordan Perry, played by David Warner. Now, Mike, are you familiar with the works of David Warner?
No, I am not.
I believe he's in a few Star Trek movies.
Really?
Yes.
You mean he worked on it, or he was acting in it?
Yeah, he was the director. He was the best boy. Of course he was acting in it.
I don't know. Jerk. Friendship over.
Okay. Jordan states that TGRI is cleaning the waste for the benefit of the community. We cut back to the Turtles with Donatello enthralled by this scientist with Pop in hand. Raph wants to change the channel, but Splinter enters and says, "Do not change channel." That was the actual line. Do not change the channel. Do not change channel. Jordan brushes April off after she asks him for a follow-up question. Freddy, Gopher, I believe, asks April what she could have asked Jordan. She replies with, "I don't know, but I'm paid to be suspicious." A couple of TGRI employees discover huge dandelions. They take one of them to bring to the professor. Freddy, the best boy, enters the scene and takes one of the dandelions and sneaks away in the day in front of all these TGRI employees. Jordan tells one of the other scientists to find all the leaky canisters. The scientist doesn't feel that it was right to invite the public. Jordan assures him that the best way to hide is right out in public. Work for Freddy the caterer. The scientist mentions the line of, "If any of this falls in the wrong hands," to which you are led to believe it won't. Or will it? No? Yes, okay. Actually. Okay, just so you're well up to speed and assured. Freddy the fake Shemp gives Shredder the mutated dandelion.
Before we go on, that scene, I gotta bring up, I know he's gonna be through the whole film, but I need to say it right off the bat. How is this not a Baxter Stockman shot?
You mean like as a nod to Baxter Stockman?
Or something, or just something written in differently altogether. I mean, come on, the scientist winds up being captured by Shredder. It seems like the perfect opportunity just to do a whole Baxter story. That's what I was waiting for. I thought that's who this was going to be from the moment I started watching, and nope, just another scientist.
Funny enough, we talked about a lot of this movie had nods to the cartoon. So by you saying that, you might think he's Baxter Stockman, but I'll get to it later on, but with the use of TGRI and the scientists, I believe they were going to go with some Mirage reference, which I will get to at the end. So Freddy, Freddy the fake Shemp. He gives Shredder the mutated dandelion. At first, the Shredder is annoyed, but by the power of the dandelion and possibly any contaminated radiation from the exposure, believes this may be useful against his enemies. I always think whenever I see that, the scene with the dandelion, is Freddy just pulling it up dandelion. We then cut to the Turtles cleaning up April's apartment, and Donatello, his finest moment in the history of the franchise, is when he makes up with the mop. You're welcome. We then get an awesome, never-been-done reference of the Karate Kid's wax on, wax off line. Which was only it's hey. That movie came, 7 years fresh by the time Turtles 2 came out. Splinter asked for everyone to join him on the roof. The TGRI news reporter motivated him to show the Turtles their origin story by showing the canister of Ooze that was from TGRI that mutated them. Splinter believes that this canister isn't unique and may put the city in grave danger. Cut to Jordan working in a lab complete with early 90s computer. He is disposing all the Ooze. He gets to the last canister before Tatsu and the Foot Ninjas advance on him. The Turtles enter the scene, and after trying out a possible new catchphrase, "Let's do it!" they enter the lab and discover that all but one canister has been disposed. Donnie, using elite hacksaw skills, if this movie was made today, he would actually say elite hacksaw skills, or Michelangelo would say that. Yes, definitely.
Here we go. This is one of my biggest problems in the first movie. Donatello is just Michelangelo number 2.
Okay.
Now he's finally getting his personality. I don't know how it compares in relation to the comics, as I haven't read much of it, but I do know that is Donnie's personality in the cartoon. I watched many episodes of that, so I know that much. And I was so happy to see that this movie, even though the plot was silly and lack of weapons, this and that, I was happy to see that each of the characters seemed to be separate. It wasn't Raphael, Raphael, Leonardo, and then Michelangelo too. Donatello felt like his own character, written separately. It didn't feel like they just wrote a bunch of jokes and split them up between Mikey and Donnie. So I was happy to see that Donatello was actually his own character with his, as you said, elite hacksaw skill.
They try to bring up the file, but the Game Genie code to glitch your game takes over the screen, making the access denied. Tatsu and the Foot Ninja enter. Mikey throws a beaker to knock the canister from Tatsu's hand, and another fight ensues for the possession of the last canister of Ooze, a la football. A callback to an early scene. At one point, this fat Foot Ninja actually has a hold of the canister. If only he did a touchdown, breaking the canister and ending the movie. Mikey headbutts the ninja, and the canister goes flying. Donatello grabs it and does some chair surfing around the lab, but a Foot Ninja stops the chair. The canister lands in Tatsu's hands, and he uses a smoke bomb and flees. You know what? He could have actually done so at the very first when they saw Turtles, because he had it in his hand. But you wouldn't get a fight scene, so...
And by fight scene, we mean a goofball scene.
Yep, so you want, realism about, he could have just left, or some good old-fashioned ninja football fun. So the Foot Clan have both the Ooze and Professor Jordan. Cut back to April's apartment. The Turtles pack up their... Oh, sorry, okay.
I just want to say, perhaps they were trying to make a reference to, which, I don't even know if this is out yet, the Mutant Football League.
What the heck is the Mutant Football League?
You ever played that video game?
What was it for?
I believe it was a Sega game.
Then it's completely over my head at that point because I was strictly Nintendo.
I see. I see, sir.
Alright, so if we ever do a podcast about video games again, we'll have to play that game.
Yes.
Was it any good, honestly?
It's been so long since I've played it. I can't even tell you.
Cut back to April's apartment. The Turtles pack up their things to find a new place, citing that it's too dangerous for them to stay there because of the Foot Clan. Mikey randomly wants a pizza, and that cues up Kino. Oh boy, he's a self-contained supporting protagonist, isn't he? Isn't he? Kino enters. I'm so happy too. Kino enters. Despite April not ordering any pizza, Kino looks around. He first discovers Mikey's nunchucks, and April tries to make Kino believe that they're actually hers despite her poor skills. Not a fellow chucker. Not a fellow chucker at all. Even Mikey face palms this. Kino eventually discovers the Turtles after, of all things, Raph tapping his foot. I'll just skip mentioning the moment that Kino fainted at the sight of Splinter and get right down to business. Splinter explaining the history of his family to Kino. Mikey gives a rather odd burn to Raphael by saying, "All the good ones end with O," after they all introduce themselves to Kino. That's part of a running gag where someone does something to annoy Splinter and he gets them to do backflips. Which is another showcase of just wow, these big huge suits and they can do flawless backflips. Kino explains that the Foot are recruiting anyone with martial arts skills. I want to see that help wanted ad. He pitches the idea of joining the Foot to find more information. Raph thinks it's a good idea, but everyone believes that it's too dangerous. I'm sure Mike, the most rebellious turtle, Raphael, will comply to this order and not do anything rash. I'm sure of it.
What, Ryan? You have not been watching enough Turtles.
No, he's laid back. He doesn't cause any harm to anyone. That's typical Raphael.
Well, you are the expert, so I'll take your word for it.
Yes. Cut back to the junkyard where the experiment begins. The Ooze is transferred via a coffee maker and propane, and I assume propane accessories, into a structure containing some animals. Meanwhile, the Turtles, one by one, cross the street in the rain to get back into the sewers. Mikey does a Casablanca reference. Man, I love all the shoutouts and references they are giving to the kids of 1991. The Turtles travel in a much...
Casablanca wasn't dated yet. Come on, that came out 2 years prior? Come on,
yep.
Brian.
The Turtles travel in a much cleaner sewer than the first movie. Very clean. Raph and Leo argue with Raph leaving to do more angsty things. The three remaining Turtles eventually discover an old subway station and feel like it could be their home, despite Mikey, after a sneeze, tells them that the sewers in Connecticut are nicer. People from Connecticut who might be listening to this, are they? Is Mikey right?
I visited Connecticut, been in their sewers. Very nice. Cleaner than the New York streets.
9 out of 10. Back at the junkyard. Yeah, really? You've been to Connecticut? Oh, you got my hopes up. I wanted a vision of Mike in Connecticut. Back at the junkyard, the Shredder, now wearing a shower curtain for a cape, demands why the mutants are not ready. Jordan tells him it takes time. We see a little glimpse of these new mutants in their cage.
Can we talk about it?
About what?
Just like with the Baxter Stockman thing. I know it probably had something to do with licensing the name or whatever, but how are these not Bebop and Rocksteady?
Oh, okay. Tell you what, we'll get to that once we actually see what these mutants are. Okay?
All right.
Shredder feels that the Foot and even himself are failures when dealing with the Turtles, so he's pitting freak against freak live on pay-per-view. At Channel 3 News, April's boss, who we have seen since the first movie. Oh, good old Phil. Remember Phil from the first movie?
Love Phil.
Good old Philadelphia. Remember Phil? Oh, Phil. The man named Phil tells April to stop covering TGRI and focus on swimsuits of the 90s. A rather 80s-looking businessman with a ponytail tells April that she has a phone call from someone named Donnie. Donatello updates April that they have found a new place. Mikey enters with 2 bags of no-name chips, probably to put on top of pizza. Donatello asks April if she has seen Raphael lately, much to Leonardo's annoyance about Raph going on his own.
I like that. I like that one thing that they kept the same from the first movie is that Raphael is still very much so like his comic counterpart, whereas he's the one who is different. He's the one who goes off on his own. He doesn't necessarily believe in all of Splinter's teachings. So I like that because a lot of the time I agree with Splinter. However, at the same time, I think Splinter is too docile in his ways of thinking about going about things, and I like that not all 4 turtles are blind to like, Master Splinter, you're the man, Raphael, he's the rebellious one. He's the one who thinks, action needs to be done now. And so I like that despite all the kidifying, to coin a phrase, despite all that, they still kept Raphael the rebellious one. And I'm happy. I think that was the right choice because not only is it good for the plot, but I think it's also good for intermingling between the characters, where they're all not just sitting around, trading high fives and agreeing with each other. They have someone who not only puts himself at odds with the other 3, but at times that could put a strain on the other 3 when Raphael's gone. So I think it's good for characterization.
Yeah, just as a general point, when the name Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first word teenage, I think that really describes Raph's character in that essence because the most rebellious one, just the one that kind of feels like maybe the most alone amongst everyone else. I think that rings true.
And I think he's also the most realistic. I mean, he's the one who's he realizes what his situation is, and he realizes that it's not right. The fact that he's a good guy helping people a lot of the time, and yet because of what he is, he'll be damned as a freak.
Yes.
So
speaking
he's very realistic in his thinking.
Speaking of freaks, back at the junkyard, the Shredder orders Tatsu to free the new mutants and learn who their new master is. This scene in this movie is probably, out of anything else, is pretty much beat for beat just like the cartoon. The Shredder, full of pride over a new plan. We see these new mutants, a snapping turtle, and a wolf, looking incredibly intimidating. And as a kid, it kind of scared me because they did look pretty menacing. But I was still looking forward to how awesome they would be against the turtles. But that euphoria is ended when it's revealed that these new mutants see the Shredder and yell out, "Mama!" and give him a hug. The Shredder bursts out from the shed crying out, "Babies! They're babies!"
We have our difference of opinion on this movie that we've spoken about on numerous occasions.
Okay, what's your opinion on that?
I think it's hilarious. You want to know why?
I think it's hilarious
you
too.
do? Okay, I thought you
I love that line. It's so silly and over the top. Okay, so you were asking earlier about, like, with Toka and Razor.
Yes.
Like, why are these not Bebop and Rocksteady? I have two theories to this. One, might have most likely been a rights issue because of just like, I believe Eastman and Laird were asking the production studio for the cartoon, can we use Bebop and Rocksteady? No, that's not possible. Another theory that I do have, while it's probably easy to secure a warthog for filming because, spoilers at the end, they demutate, a baby rhino would be very hard to get.
They have all these people in suits. They can't give us a fake rhino.
I think it would look too fake next to an actual warthog.
I think they dropped the ball.
I think just budget-wise,
they should have found a way to make it work, because I think they could still stick with the same storyline with the whole they're babies thing. I think it could be like almost set as a prequel to the TV series, in the sense that, hey, this is how Bebop and Rocksteady came to be. But I know it had its own story, but you know. But
no, not only that, Mike. It's like with Bebop and Rocksteady is they were actually humans mutated, whereas with Toka and Razor they were animals that were mutated.
No, I know it had its own backstory. You know, they were already criminals or whatever in the cartoon. But considering that the movie is just clearly going its own route anyway and contradicting the cartoon as it is, I see no problem with making this an alternate story. I think it would be hilarious, because I think it would make watching the cartoon and thinking about that movie, it would make the cartoon even more hilarious to me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
The Shredder orders Tatsu to dispose of the new mutants, much to Jordan's dismay. Jordan tells Shredder that while that they are stupid, they make up for it with their strength, like any scientist would tell him. Cut to a nearby bridge where we see Kino and some other extras being told by higher up in the foot. This higher up in the foot wearing Rocky Balboa-like clothes about if they pass the test, they get into the organization. Kino runs off and finds Raph, who tells him to find where the foot headquarters is and get out of there to tell the others. So that's basically their plan. Simple enough. Nothing bad will happen. Nope. Nothing at all. Kino dispenses some wit when being told of the plan that maybe I should write this down. Raph looks at the sky with his fingers, just wanting to flip off the sky, but no can do in this movie. Maybe the first one, but he says, I'm being punished, aren't I? Kino passes his first test of sparring sessions with flying colors. It's at this moment that I thought more so of my own debate. Who is more annoying, Danny from the first movie or Kino in this? And I'm going to have to go with Danny. Because while Kino has really bad lines, and is somewhat of a bland character, he isn't as annoying as Danny. And his martial arts skills, for a character trait, is kind of suited for this than a rebel without a clue in Danny from the first movie. Do you agree, or?
I could practically copy and paste my audio from the first episode we did to surmise my feelings. I loathe Danny with the fiery passion of 10 trillion suns. He was a burden on the first movie. He was irritating. I hated his dumb face. I hated his acting. He was horrible. His entire point in the plot, just even though they tried to make it relevant, it just felt irrelevant to me. He was not necessary. It was a lame, not even B-plot, but a D-plot. And Kino just has corny lines. That's just it.
Yeah, that's the trade-off right there.
The actor, he does a pretty good job, you know? Not a bad actor. Kino seems a little bit more relevant to the plot. I don't feel like he's as forced in as Danny. You know, like, I kind of get, with Kino, I kind of get Zack the Fifth Turtle.
I was just about to say that. Like, where does he, because they've done this before in the franchise of introducing a quote-unquote fifth turtle, whether it be, like you said, Zack, this movie, Venus as an actual turtle, like, who was that guy from, like, the Red Sky seasons where he actually mutated as well? What was his name?
I have not watched seasons 9 and 10 yet, so...
But he was in season 8, wasn't he?
Was he?
I don't remember.
You're the expert.
I'm the expert, but those seasons I haven't seen in, like, at least a decade. And that was, like, at a point when I stopped really caring about the franchise in itself.
For a good while?
A good while. And honestly, I stopped really caring about Ninja Turtles until maybe, honestly, the 4Kids show.
03?
Yeah, that actually got me back into watching Ninja Turtles.
So Kino, I feel like they're kind of doing a Zack the Fifth Turtle thing with him. And as opposed to Zack, Kino I don't find to be annoying. I just find him to be corny. Like, I don't feel like the Kino scenes are dragging down the movie or a hindrance on my enjoyment like the Danny scenes were, or like the Zack scenes were, or whole episodes were in the cartoon. So Kino, I don't dislike him because I'm a guy who likes corny lines anyway, for the most part. So Kino just felt like, hey, there's the corny character. Didn't bother me at all. Danny, go to hell.
Kino's second test is to remove a bunch of bells off a suit with a smoke bomb clowning the area in 15 seconds. The smoke bomb hits, not making a noise, the smoke bomb hits, and Raph quickly removes the bells, putting them all in Kino's hands before hiding. I remember what Kino says after cheating this test. Is this enough? But I still thought, even when I just watched this yesterday, that they would do some sort of bell joke of either, I'm here with bells on, or I'm the belle of the ball. Although I would find it funny if he would have said, ring a ding ding ding.
What's truly amazing?
Is
that Raphael, with those giant stubby fingers, didn't touch a single other bell to make a noise while picking those bells off. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
It's using, 3 fingers, like, it's kind of like a claw machine.
Exactly.
In the junkyard, Kino is told to get a doji, but just wanders around until meeting up with Raph. Looks like this is the place. Yeah, looks it. So this may not be the Foot Hideout, and probably some other random junkyard filled with ninjas. Raph sees the Shredder in the distance, but just believes that it's a ghost. Raph and Kino get caught by Tatsu. Raph replies with, we're looking for a 77 Chevy, which I believe if he would have actually got this Chevy, he would drive it to the levee. Raph, just like from the first movie, takes on a bunch of foot ninjas by himself. Kino wants to help, but Raph threatens to kick his butt. Kino, while escaping the junkyard, battles a bunch of foot ninjas. Raph is eventually overtaken by all these foot ninjas. He insults Tatsu until the Shredder appears in front of him. Kino runs back to April's building, runs from one side of the city to the other. Wow.
That is why he is better than Danny. He
I
has
so.
amazing endurance.
Oh my gosh, I can only, just imagine, how long that would actually take. And that would take, right there, Kino. Good on you. He tells April that Raph is in trouble. That night at the junkyard, the other turtles sneak around trying to find Raph. They do the, it's easy, a little too easy run with the finale of, it's Raph, a little too Raph. The others, turtles fall for the incredibly obvious trap. The Shredder doing his best Batman 67 villain impression with, I've been waiting for you. I have a little surprise. He tries to skewer the netted turtles into a pile of sharp things. Donatello compliments the structure of the net, with Mikey stating that he wants to write a letter to Ralph Nader. I couldn't imagine a better last words for anyone, whether human or turtle. Things look grim, and if you're thinking, Casey will show up, right? Nope. Splinter, with his bow and arrow, set right out of his original action figure, comes in with the assist to free the turtles and giving a somber battle cry of Cowabunga. It wasn't I made a funny Cowabunga or anything like that. It was just the turtles make an insurance joke of, we carry insurance. Mikey replies with, mutual Splinter. More slapstick fighting commences until Shredder summons Toka and Razor. Yes, Mikey questions if he saw these two at WrestleMania. Oh man, Toka and Razor in the early 90s WWF. I would have loved to see them against the Road Warriors, Demolition, the Hart Foundation, and of course the greatest team of that era, Power and Glory. Toka and Razor are too powerful against the Turtles one-on-one, which is what I always wanted to see from Bebop and Rocksteady. These two big mutants that the Turtles have to really work together to defeat, Instead of like how Bebop and Rocksteady can be just like two goofballs that even one turtle can Yeah, exactly. That could defeat rather easily. I'll be honest, my favorite version of Bebop and Rocksteady are from the video games, because they're bosses. It takes forever to actually beat them. Donatello is thrown into the air by Toka and lands in a shed where Professor Jordan is held captive. Mikey discovers a manhole, and despite the illogic that maybe this could lead the Foot right back to their home again, they utilize it to escape, with Toka blocking the manhole, to which Mikey, he's the most honorable ninja that there is, tickles Toka's feet. Jordan is amazed to see mutants that are intelligent. Mikey tries to explain their backstory, but Jordan was able to explain the scientific explanation of the four of them being in contact with the Ooze. Fantastic. They make it back to the train station where the Turtles discover that the formation of the Ooze was a big mistake, in the form of an unknown mixture of discarded chemicals that was exposed to radiation, and in the midst of disposing it all, they lost one of the canisters down the sewer 15 years prior. After this talk, Donatello, looking depressed, tells Splinters that the true origin of the Ooze is a letdown, and he thought that they were something special. Splinter explains that the journey is to find out more about their origin, but it will have to wait for now. They have larger problems to deal with.
You know what's interesting about that? I just want to make sure that I got this right. It's Donatello who said that line, right?
Yeah, that he thought that they were special. He was anticipating something big about the Ooze.
What I think is most interesting about that is the way Donatello says that, the way he feels like, I thought we were something special. I thought we were something, different. Like almost like he feels like he thought they were going to be put there for a purpose.
Mm.
To me, it feels like Donatello. He's looking for a higher reason, a higher purpose. Now that could be potentially even from a religious sense that he's thinking. And
the god of turtles.
I don't know what, but the way he feels, I feel that would be something more suited for a character like Leonardo. Thinking like we were put here for a purpose. I thought that there was a bigger reason, a grander scheme of things. Whether you take what I'm saying as a religious connotation or just the greater plan of some company that made the Ooze, whatever. I would think that Donatello would like that explanation. It's so scientific. Like I think that Donatello will be the one conferring with the scientists, with the professor, saying like, I don't know, almost like trading notes, scientific notes. Donatello doesn't seem like the one who would be disappointed by that fact. That's what I think.
Well, that's a good interpretation, Mike. So,
cut
the Toka. It could be, yeah, now that I think about that, it would be a Leo thing, and maybe that kind of like, about that kind of angst about origin. Or maybe potentially Raphael in a different manner.
Yeah, Raphael could work too. I personally see it as more of a Leo thing, but Leo or Raphael would work, and I don't know, I feel like that's one of the big problems I have with these movies. I feel like even though the characters now do have their own separate personalities, I feel like a lot of the time the writers, they want to throw in these certain lines, whatever, maybe for a little bit more depth in the Turtles, like something like that, like, oh, I thought it was going to be something grander, something better. And I feel like the writers come up with these lines and they really don't even care what turtle it goes with. It's like, whatever, they're just all four turtles. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I don't think that the writers have, at times, not all the time, but at times I feel like they don't have a good grasp on who each character is and what sets them apart and what makes them different. I feel like Donnie is the least likely to say that, as far as the Donnie that I know goes.
Okay. Cut to Toka and Razor being let loose in the city, causing destruction to various things. This act is used by the Shredder as a calling card for the Turtles for a final confrontation. An elderly couple getting into a cab notices this. The man asks his wife, "What if they come over to where they are?" The wife replies with, "Let them get their own cab." The next morning, we get a cameo by Chief Stearns from the first movie, telling the news reporters, including April, actually signals her out amongst other ones, not acknowledging the others about the damage being minimal. After Stearns goes back to investigation, April asks for a few off-the-record questions. Stern replies with, "My record, on the record, clearly shows that I have no off-the-record record. Make a record of that." Okay, 33 or 78. No, she didn't say that. No, she does ask if there were any tooth or claw marks. She further explains that the damage was caused by two really big animals. I can't, I'm going through this, and I always remember the deliveries a lot of these lines. After a, "What are you not going to tell me" exchange, April gives a big fuck you to the police by saying, "Maybe you're not the ones who can handle this." And Stearns agrees. April asks a person with a nice mustache ponytail combo where Freddy the special thanks credit is. The mustachio ponytail guy tells her that Freddy called in sick. April goes back to her van and a foot ninja grabs her and takes her to a place in the distance. Freddy the sponsored by takes off his mask to reveal that he is Freddy the foot ninja. Freddy the foot ninja tells April that his master has a message to her friends. April tells the Turtles to meet the Foot Clan at the construction site, or else the Shredder will send Toka and Razor out to Central Park. Splinter agrees to the terms to meet the Shredder. One thing I want to mention, with Toka and Razor, they were created for this movie, but they did eventually show up in the cartoon.
Yes, I was actually surprised by that. I thought that was cool.
With kind of different personalities for the most part. Here, being both played by Frank Welker, as they're babies. But in the cartoon, they were actually talking pretty intelligently. Jordan comes up with a plan. He and Donnie create a formula of some sorts. Mikey and Kino are eating pizza as they assist Jordan and Donatello. If you're thinking, "Well, Mikey dropped the slice into the mixture," you would be correct, and win something in our contest, to which I mean you would win nothing in our contest. You'd think Donatello would get mad about that, but nope, he just sweeps it under the rug, or mixes it into the bowl. We find out that the formula that they are making is anti-mutagen. The Turtles think that it's a spray, but Jordan, after pouring it into a Bart Simpson glass, oh my goodness, Mike, two early 90s pop culture figures, The Simpsons and Professor Jordan. Anyway, Jordan tells him that Toka and Razor had to ingest it. Mikey, of all people, actually comes up with a plan. At the construction site, the Turtles, with Mikey carrying a box of donuts.
See, coming up with ridiculous plans, that's perfect for Mikey. He is tailor-fit for this movie.
The Turtles wander the site until the Shredder and the Foot Clan surrounds them. Shredder quips that it's ironic that the very thing that was your making will be your undoing, as he holds onto a canister of ooze. Toka and Razor enter. Mikey and Leo give the two overgrown mutants the donuts. Toka and Razor each eat one, and in a random show of intelligence by the two, they discover that the donuts are not what they seem. Crushing one discovers that an anti-mutagen cube is inside. A lot of the fights between the Turtles and Toka and Razor consist of the new mutants just tossing them around. Razor chucks Mikey into a wall, knocking it down to reveal a wall with graffiti that says Dock Shore Club. And we're about to enter in probably the best scene in this movie.
No, Ryan.
This is going to be fun.
Head-to-head.
Head-to-head. The six mutants wander around until Toka chucks Rat into a wall of the Dock Shore Club, where a concert is happening. Not just any concert, my good friend Mike, but a Vanilla Ice concert. Oh, one of my favorite lines is the concert goer going, "Look at those costumes! I love this place!" Some music starts playing after Toka and Razor give a foreshadowing belch. Vanilla Ice is moved by the music. In a showcase of why this is in fact the greatest scene of all time, and he's the greatest rapper of all time, he makes up an original song on the fly called the Ninja Rap. Okay, I'll be honest with you folks. When Mike and I started recording, or before we were recording, I wanted to ask him if he can do a rendition of the Ninja Rap for me, which he vehemently said no. So, for the benefit of the show, for you, the listeners, I'm going to give you as much of the lyrics as I can, because here's the thing, Mike. You have issues with the scene. I understand that. But the lyrics in this are genius. Look, it's the Green Machine, gonna rock the town without being seen. Have you ever seen a turtle get down, slamming and jamming to the new swing sound? Yeah, everybody let's move. Vanilla is here with the new Jack Brew. Gonna rock and roll the place with the power of the Ninja Turtle bass. Iceman, yeah, you know I'm not playing. Devastate the show where the Turtles are saying, Ninja Rap, ninja, ninja, ninja rap, ninja, ninja rap, go, 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 go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. But here's the greatest lyric of all time.
You gotta put that on vinyl, my friend.
No. This is the greatest lyric of all time after that chorus. Lyrics fill in the gap, which made me think that Rob Van Winkle, while writing this, only had this kind of thing thinking, okay, I'm going to think of something else to put in this, but I'll write right now, lyrics fill in the gap. But he forgot about that last thing when everything was all said and done. Okay, Mike. I just only want to go through the first one because it does get really repetitive about this, except at the end. Out with the gladiator baby to close the song. Alright, so before we get into everything with like the rest of the movie, okay, so the Vanilla Ice scene is somewhat controversial in the sense that it's something that does stand out from the rest of the body of the movie. Before I let you go into your theories on things, I do want to say, personally for me, while reviewing this movie, a lot of this movie felt really kind of dull to write about. I wrote a lot of just the lines that people said. The plot kind of like at times like a little bit boring, but then we get to this. I think this saves the movie. I honestly believe this saves this movie. Okay, why do you have issues with this?
Let me make this clear to everyone listening. Ryan is not being sarcastic. The first time I mentioned to him how much I hate this scene, he said, "Oh, but it's the best scene in the movie." I thought he was being sarcastic. I thought he was pulling my leg. I was like, "Haha, Ryan, yeah, you're so funny." Then we actually that was over text. Then we speak over Skype, and he continues to confirm what he was saying, and I am amazed. This is why I have loathed this scene.
Okay, why?
There's so many things wrong overall with this movie. The comedy is much more corny than the first film. It completely takes a different tone. There's a lack of real fighting. There's a lack of real action. There's a lack of real adventure. And practically at the end of the movie, this scene is like putting the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, and saying that this movie is ridiculous. And to me, that is a culmination of everything that was wrong with the movie. You have intense scenes, supposed to be intense scenes, or potentially could be intense scenes, coming up on the climax of the movie between the Turtles and these two new mutants that are very strong, very overpowering compared to the Turtles. And what do we have in this coming up on a climax scene? You know, almost. Not the Shredder yet, but coming up on the climax, what do we have? A ridiculous rap song made up on the spot. This is the most dated possible thing in the entire movie. We've spent this discussion pointing out all the dated things. You made your Game Genie references, this and that. This is the worst of them, because this is the ultimate signifying the 90s thing, because this not only the rapper, the style, not only is the rapper, the style of music, and the whole beat completely 90s, but the whole concept in a TV show or a movie of suddenly breaking into some type of rap song about what is happening is the most early 90s thing of the movie. Over the Bart Simpson, over your Game Genie lookalike things, over any reference they could have made. This carbon dates the movie worst of all, and it solidifies just how ridiculous and off-putting it was compared to the first movie when you go back and watch the first movie.
Okay.
That is what I have to say.
All right. I can give two parts to this. One being how to support what you're saying, so I'm not completely being a jerk about things in my theories. You are right that this makes this incredibly dated, because even watching this movie, I think at the time when I was a kid, knowing what little I know about Vanilla Ice, thinking, I think his popularity had peaked at this time. Like, I think it was, I don't know if this led to his great opus in acting called Cool as Ice. And if it did, I feel sadder about this movie, because Cool as Ice is an awful movie, although it does have Michael Gross from Family Ties as the dad. So if you ever watched that movie, Mike, you can look forward to that. as well as, like, this does feel like this is something that they've written in just like, okay, we can get more people into the movies because Vanilla Ice is in this movie. He made a single, let's put it on the soundtrack, that kind of thing, marketing and all that. So I get that. Cash grab. That being said, in the context of the movie, for everything leading up to this, again, for me, like, very corny stuff and all that, this movie feels like a step down with the tone direction from the first movie. But to get to this part where it's so over the top, as in, at one point, this felt like a music video where the Turtles danced. And I say that because I think they filmed a music video where they did this exact scene where they're dancing in sync. But that being said, because of the fact that it's Vanilla Ice, he's making this rap on the spot, it has the Ninja Turtles. That mixture together, while very odd and random, to me, just it feels like it's that so bad it's good mentality that if you enjoy those moments in cinema, this has to be up there. That you can, if you want to suspend disbelief, if you do not care whatsoever about seriousness, about film in itself, this is a great moment to actually embrace that.
See, ultimately, I think the biggest thing which I'm going to use against what you just said, despite your positives and negatives, the thing is, the Turtles is a lasting franchise. Okay, we're not talking about Plan 9 from outer space here. We're talking about a lasting, enduring franchise which was at its height of popularity during the time, and for it to deviate so far from what it was originally trying to do, and just go for like I said, a cash grab celebrity nod, it just felt so cheap to me and demeaning to the franchise. I know that the cartoon is silly. I know that it's ridiculous. But because the first movie was so deviating from the cartoon, staying true to the comics, for the second movie to just not only listen to all the complaining soccer moms about the violence and the damn or whatever, you know, for them to go that far down, despite such good revenue from the first film, for them to go so far down, listening to those soccer moms, listening to all that, and then to also throw in at the very end, like I said, the cherry on top, a celebrity cash grab just to get a song on a soundtrack, I think it's demeaning to the franchise.
Are you stating that this was like something that made the franchise jump the shark in some sense?
You know,
for a time?
Yes, for its time. Yes, for 80s and 90s Turtles, I think this was the turtle jump moment. Luckily,
I have to completely disagree with that because because I think if anything, the third movie was solidifying the fact that the franchise had jumped, because it took 2 years for them to make that movie, and the result of that wait was completely inferior even to this movie that we're talking about right now. That I think that was the death knell for Ninja Turtles for quite a few years. Whereas this still was very popular. It's like even in '91, as silly as it was, it still was popular. This probably did lead into stuff like
that's just it. See, to me, in my opinion, when something jumps the shark, it's when it's still in the height of its popularity and during a good time where it suddenly declines, rather than Turtles 3, which is 2 years of production and just a completely bad production. This is coming 1 year off of a great production. It should have been good, and yet it essentially jumped the shark, as you put it.
Okay, so we both have put in both our pros and cons with this. So I was actually trying to put this out as much as I can on Twitter, and I will do so when I post this episode about your thoughts of the scene. I don't know why, because it's a very random scene that comes up. That's probably why people have talked about it so much, because it just comes out of nowhere. So
that I can agree with you on.
Yeah, it does come out of nowhere, so it does make you. It's a complete surprise out of the rest of the body of the movie. So right now, back to action. I'm talking about we're now at the finale, and Jordan enters and explains to Donnie that Token Razor's belching is canceling out the anti-mutagen effects, and that they need carbon dioxide to accelerate the anti-mutagenetic process. Jordan grabs a fire extinguisher, which Donnie replies with, "Genius! Pure genius. Meanwhile, back at the train station, Splinter and Kino are meditating. Kino wants to help the others. Splinter tells Kino that he has no experience yet for a battle that the Turtles are fighting. So Splinter believes Kino doesn't have the experience to be at a Vanilla Ice concert, basically. Actually, Splinter tells Kino that the Turtles have to fight because that they must, but it's the last choice for a true ninja. Used unwisely, it becomes a double-edged sword, but Splinter agrees with Kino that they can't be forced to stay. Kino ventures off to assist in the fight. Back at the fight, or music video thing, the Turtles are able to dispense the fire extinguishers into Toka and Razor, knocking them out. Two concert promoters who earlier wanted to call the police decide to cancel it because they feel that the people are enjoying themselves. Okay, think about this, Mike, about the scene. Sure, it's silly, but think of the people in the movie. They were enjoying the whole concert. They loved it.
They were actors. They were acting like they liked it. They were all very skilled, brilliant actors to give off the aura that they were having fun. Brilliant.
And then I will leave it up to any actor who may or may not hear this. Like, what were your thoughts if you were an extra in this scene? Did you enjoy it or did you not?
Shout out to all the extras from the scene.
Okay. Foot ninjas enter the concert and the Turtles fight them off while showcasing some dance moves. Remember that part in the Mirage comics when this happened? Okay, maybe I just had a dream about that. But anyway, after beating the foot, Tatsu and the Turtles dance. Okay, sorry, I forgot about everyone dances except Tatsu. But everyone dances, even Professor Jordan. This is really silly and nothing like the final fight of the first movie, but it's so entertaining.
Where's Casey with the garbage truck when you need him? Throw Vanilla Ice in there, forget the Shredder.
The Turtles get onto the stage to further bark it down until the Shredder boots down a speaker to stop the party.
Thank you. See, I was playing the Shredder in that scene.
So you would be the Shredder from the Coming Out of Shells tour show, where he actually had a song that is called I Hate Music. He actually sings a song about hating music, clearly canceling out his message right then and there. That would be your personal theme song. I hate music. Shredder taunts the Turtles that he will have more mutants at his disposal with the ooze that he carries. Kino just bursts into the scene, kicks the canister from the Shredder's hand, sending it over to where Professor Jordan grabs it and exits. Okay, you were asking earlier, yeah, but keep in mind, there's something I have to bring up because you asked about the Baxter stocking kits. A note, apparently in the original script for this movie, Professor Jordan was going to be revealed to be an Utron, which, if you don't know what the Utrons are, they are aliens from the Mirage comics that created the Ooze. But production decided to not reveal this, that audience might think that Jordan was Krang, because that's kind of where the basis for Krang in the 87 series came from, where these brain-like creatures called Utrons. Shredder grabs a hostage and threatens to cover her with a small violet ooze that the Shredder has on standby. The Turtles come up with a quick plan of raising the volume, most likely up to 11, Miking hitting a note of a guitar, sending the Shredder into the air and bursting through the wall. The Turtles run out of the club to see where the Shredder is, but not before seeing Toka and Razor transform back into their pure mutated form of a cute wolf and snapping turtle. So adorable. The Turtles explore the docks, and in a nod to the 87 series, when Leo asks if they see anything, we hear Raph's voice coming out of Donatello. That was a very odd thing. Like, I rewinded just to make sure, but no, I heard Raph's voice coming out of Donatello's suit. The Turtles think that they won the fight after giving a victory cowabunga. The Shredder's hand bursts through the dock. He smashes the floor until the Turtles fall down. We see that the Shredder has mutated into Super Shredder, played by pro wrestler Kevin Nash. Okay. Even as a kid, Mike, that while I bought the concept that the Shredder mutated, I still question, why did his clothes grow with him?
Well, for the same reason that when you watch Dragon Ball GT, when Goku transforms from a kid to Super Saiyan 4, his pants grow as well. It's magic.
Yes, a wizard did it. But regardless of that kind of thinking, I thought he still looked cool. But I couldn't see so much of the Super Shredder. I was like, man, why did they film it so dark? And I later saw a behind-the-scenes photo of Kevin Nash in the costume with better lighting, with incredibly cheap painted-on abs on the suit, with bright purple. Like, it was bright purple, what the suit actually looks like the Super Shredder figure that they made. I understood why it was shot so dark. While impressive and menacing, Super Shredder does himself in by breaking the support beams on the dock, crushing him. Just like the first movie, I always feel like the final battle with Shredder is very anticlimactic. This one even more so from the first movie, where Shredder is crushed in a garbage truck and lived, but here you would think he could survive being collapsed by a dock because he's Super Shredder.
Exactly.
Yeah, the turtles escape death by diving into the water. They emerge, and after saying, "Man, I love being a turtle," in exhaustion, the Shredder tries to muster strength to recover, but collapses. So yeah, I wanted to see more of Super Shredder, but it was he killed himself because he was so angry about the turtles, and by saying, "Shredder, you're gonna kill us all." So be it. It's just like, what a letdown. This is a bigger letdown than the first movie. Of just like a fight with the Shredder.
It really is, because there's not even a fight.
No, it's just standing. It's just
at least the first movie had a fight with an anticlimactic end. This wasn't even a fight.
Yeah,
this was just, let's go from ninja rap to Super Shredder collapses himself.
So, that's the end of the Shredder. Splinter watches a news program from April. She says that a message was delivered to the station by Professor Jordan, thanking the Turtles by name. The Turtles arrive at their home, feeling incredibly victorious and quipping some more catchphrases. Splinter, just like in the first movie, asks if they were seen. The Turtles deny this until Splinter pulls out a newspaper with the Turtles on the front page with a banner reading, "Ninja Rap is born." Splinter gets them to do 10 flips for being seen, but tells them, "Go Ninja, go!" They do a flip, the picture freezes, and Splinter in delight states, "I made another funny!"
Best scene in the movie. Best scene.
Just that very last one?
Yep. Bringing back the joke from the first one, because Splinter, he's the man. He's the real hero of the story. He saved the movie with one line because he's hilarious, and that's all I have to say.
I was going to ask, by mentioning Splinter, where do you rank this version of Splinter? These first two movies, let's go with that, because the third movie is not that Splinter whatsoever.
A combination of the first two, I really like Splinter's interpretation as a character who is definitely a father figure, even more so than just their master. I think that he really has good lessons. I think the writing on him is good, and just overall, even though he doesn't have too many scenes, he's an enjoyable character.
I completely agree too. I love Kevin Clash's performance as Splinter. It's great puppetry and everything like that. I'm really going to miss this in the third movie when these first two movies where they were Jim Henson animatronics and all that. They did not have that for the third movie, and it shows.
Whoa! I can't wait to delve into that movie.
Yeah. So. Now we finished the movie. Mike, what are your thoughts overall in Secret of the Ooze? Let's bring it up we talked about the various things about tone. Let's talk about sequel-wise. Does this work as a sequel to continue the story from the first movie in your eyes?
Well, working as a sequel, yeah, they bring back the Shredder. It's an obvious continuation, while also now giving you a little bit of backstory on the characters that you already grew to love from the first film. It works as a sequel. Its writing was poor. It was too focused on trying to please a group that doesn't even matter. I mean, at the end of the day, all these people who complained about the first Turtles movie because they thought it was too violent or too graphic for their young children, they're not going to bring their children to see the second one. They don't care. It doesn't matter.
Oh, the kids will get their parents to get them to see this movie. That's for sure.
And then if they do, what does it matter? They get their money from the ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only person that they're hurting is the people who loved the first film, which is why it did so well. It worked well. It probably got some good word of mouth. You know, not only was the Turtles popular at the time, but people went to go see the movie, loved it, told their friends, hey, this movie was great, and it garnered good sales. And they I don't know, they dropped the ball. I hate it when Hollywood does this, when they make a good film and then listen to the complaints of people who aren't even their target audience.
Yep. I do have to say, like, it's one of those sequels that, besides some instances of some callbacks, was not retreading the first movie. You know what I mean? Some sequels are just a carbon copy of their first movie. So this wasn't the case. But by saying that, just by toning down some of the things that, I should just mention, just like you were saying earlier, that it continues the story. That's what I liked about the idea of this movie. It continues the story. In some ways, it actually focuses on the Turtles more than like in the first movie.
Where
the
you
only
had
turtle
your
that
Danny
got
D story.
you had your Danny, and the only turtle that was actually primarily focused was Raphael. So with this one, it's more of the collective of all four of them. It's about them because they're talking about their origin. They want to find out about their origin and all that, and a new threat. That's all well and good. But, like, some of the execution of it, like, Shredder in this, like, just so, he's not that far off of the cartoon version of Shredder after the first season. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
He even looked like it. He was wearing purple instead of red. I love the red, outfit that he wore in the first movie because it was just like from the Mirage comics and it looked very menacing. But the purple one's like, okay, yeah, it's even more of the concept, like, we're going more of the direction of the cartoon, because that is the more popular thing at the time.
And that's the funniest thing about it, because, you know, they go from this darker, a little bit more mature, teenage-aimed tone to the completely cartoon series tone, yet at the same time, no Bebop, no Rocksteady, even though there's two mutants, no Baxter Stockman references, even though there's a scientist. It's like they were trying to be the cartoon while chopping out things that made the cartoon, I don't know, fun. Some fun characters from the cartoon.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's Secret of the Ooze. The Vanilla Ice discussion, as we'll put it. So, I said what I had to say about this movie. What are your thoughts? Like, anything else you want to discuss, Mike?
You know, I think I've pretty much said everything that I really need to say. It didn't go the right route. It was a complete letdown, and I really think that, you know, you get to the second portion of that film, and that's really where Turtles starts jumping the shark in the 90s.
Okay, you know what? Maybe just to discuss, maybe to finalize some things, because a big omission from this movie was Casey Jones.
Yes.
In your eyes,
yes.
Do you think Casey Jones would have fit in this movie?
I think that, you know, considering how they forced him in the third movie anyway, I mean, would it have really hurt to just get a couple scenes with him? I mean, you have the police chief. I mean, just to know he's still alive.
That's exactly it. Even if it was just a one-scene kind of thing to maybe set up something, whether it be for the third movie, or just something that's individual in itself, I would have loved to see.
Maybe he helps the Turtles look for a new sewer, or, you know, maybe,
Or maybe he was at the actual construction site, and he helps out with the fight. Something along those lines. Just for a cool cameo at the end, because that would have been much cooler than Kino running in, guys, I'm gonna help you, kicks.
Exactly, you know. Or maybe Casey was there with a chainsaw and making the bridge collapse, you know. Whoops.
Oh, God. All right, on that note, so we're ending everything here. I feel glad about talking about this movie that I really liked as a kid, and I still enjoy watching from time to time. I think in the sense, like...
It's a good light watch.
It's a good light watch, and it's nostalgia.
I've had my negative things to say because it's such a letdown from the first movie, which I thought was such fantastic storytelling. But it is, if you're just looking for some goofy, stupid humor, it is a good light watch. It's not a bad movie, it's just a bad sequel to Turtles 1.
Yeah, so, and then we're going to be watching a bad sequel to Turtles 2.
Ooh, and that's a bad film.
Yeah. So, thanks for everyone to listening to this. If you have any feedback, please tweet us at @SlackerRider or at SSJGozar, and send letters, written ones, if you want. Send a fax, telegrams, stationaries, and all that. I'd like to read those. Or even send us a pizza. No, you don't have to send us a pizza.
No, I like the pizza.
Oh, of course you want pizza.
Send us a pizza.
Sure, send it. Okay,
you can write
cool.
the letter in pepperoni. Write the letter in pepperoni on a pizza. Send it over.
Yeah. Stop doing episodes. All right, everyone.
Screw you, Mike. I love the ninja rap. Damn it!
Why?
Put it in
Why
my
does
this pizza's inedible?
Why does it say from Ryan? All right. Thanks to listen to this, everyone, and you guys have yourself a good day, a good week, a good month, a good everything.
Fare thee well.
I was waiting for your last eloquent words, as always, Mike.
Acapella!